welcome to The Narrowing Path, Walking the Spiritual Walk. My name is Steve Van Eyerstein. Thanks for joining me again today for James Allen's daily meditation reading for February 13th. That's right, we're on February 13th already. This time seems to be just flying by this year. I don't know about you, but I'm grateful to be doing this podcast. There's just been so much good stuff that's come up, so many things that I've had reminders of, so many things that I've been able to bring back into my daily living and perspective. So I'm really grateful for this opportunity to be put in the position to read this. So this will be fresh to you and fresh to me. So you will get my genuine responses, reactions, observations, and what I relate to about the reading. And you can go ahead and like my the Facebook page for The Narrowing Path, Walking the Spiritual Walk. I share some quotes on there. I'll share the podcast for the day most of the time and things like that. So we're getting that up and running. So I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes too. So here we go though. This is February 13th from James Allen's Daily Meditations. Wisdom inheres in the common details of everyday existence. Everything in the universe is made of little things, and the perfection of the great is based upon the perfection of the small. If any detail of the universe were imperfect, the whole would be imperfect. If any particle were omitted, the aggregate would cease to be. Without a grain of dust, there would be no world, and the whole is perfect because the grain of dust is perfect. Neglect of the small is confusion of the great. The snowdrop is as perfect as the star, the dewdrop as symmetrical as the planet. The microbe is not less mathematically proportioned than the man. By laying stone upon stone, plumbing and fitting each with perfect adjustment, the temple at last stands forth in all its architectural beauty. When the parts are made perfect, the whole will be without blemish. And that goes right back to yesterday's reading and what I talked about yesterday. And I mentioned the phrase, everything matters. And that's been my personal experience. After you start working on your spiritual wellness, and you start walking a spiritual path and walking this way of life and living this way of life, and your actions and your behaviors and your habits reflect that, you start to realize that everything matters. You start to realize the things that drive you and how you can identify them, and why you do what you do. And then you have to change these everywhere. Wisdom inheres in the common details of everyday existence. It's what we do on a daily basis. It's how we practice this in our daily life. And it's not limiting it to one aspect. The details of everyday existence. It's not details of our home life. It's not details of our romantic life. It's not details of our work life. It's details of our everyday existence. This reading really just resonates so deeply with me, because I've done a lot of work, and I've taken a look at a lot of things, and I've got a long way to go in a lot of ways, but I have come a very long way as well. And I give myself, I take I take comfort in that. That's the word I meant. I take comfort in the fact that I am not where I used to be. I've come a extraordinarily long way from where I used to be. It goes on to say, everything in the universe is made up of little things, and the perfection of the great is based upon the perfection of the small. That's why I was talking about intention recently. That's why I was talking about how we start things, what our motivation to do things. Right? Because everything matters. perfection of the great is based upon the perfection of the small. A lot of people say, we'll sort it out later, and that's not necessarily a wrong thing to say there, but, they'll take actions that they know that are knowingly going to hurt other people, justifying it as that they'll clean it up later. Those building blocks we take at the beginning of all things we're trying to create, including ourselves, including our bodies. That's why I said yesterday, even the food we eat and the hours we sleep, we want to build a body, and to build a body that can carry on and take these actions we want to take, it needs these things. It needs this sustenance, these rest and reassurances to actually, and recoveries to function properly. And healthy body helps have a healthy mind. Healthy mind and body helps us maintain our spirituality, everything we choose to do. And then when we are healthy, when we are doing these right things and we're paying attention to the small, where we've perfected the small to the best of our ability, then we can go outside of ourselves and start to affect the things around us. Everyone's trying to jump the gun, and they're trying to fix the world without fixing themselves first. There's a lot of steps here. There's you. There's parts of you need to address before you can bring that into the world. And when you address yourself, you can address your family. Then when you can address your family, you can address your household and community. There's some steps to go through. You don't just jump straight to the world. What are you bringing? I think that's important. If it goes on to say, if any detail of the universe were imperfect, the whole would be imperfect. If any particle were omitted, the aggregate would cease to be. It needs everything. The whole needs all of it. And without all of it being perfect, and I know perfect's a very hot button word, actually, because people strive for perfection and use it as self-criticism. Perfection, is it achievable? I don't know. What's your definition of perfect might need to change, right? What you're striving for might need to be evaluated. But what he's saying here is to strive for that right living and that healthy living, and starting these things with right intentions, whatever that is. Neglect the small is confusion of the great. When you're trying to put these big pieces together, houses fall down with unstable foundations, without properly framed walls, without stability built in. It's similar to everything in life. You have to have these things in place to build and move forward with. The snowdrop is as perfect as the star. The dewdrop is as symmetrical as the planet. The microbe is not less mathematically proportioned than the man. There's these things, this idea of perfection, and this idea of, he said symmetrical in this. He said mathematically proportioned. He said, this idea isn't limited to just humans, right? For rain to happen, the perfect circumstance need to be there. For precipitation, for these things, there has to be given circumstances, right? And I just appreciate the fact that he's saying everything is by design, and the designs have pieces. Everything, every single thing mentioned, every single thing in our lives mentioned too, right? There's a lot that goes into these things, and to start rightly is important. To build that strong foundation is important, because without that, it will fall. By laying stone upon stone, plumbing and fitting each with perfect adjustment, the temple at last stands forth in its architectural beauty. Right? Each stone needs to be laid carefully and precisely. Each thing done needs to be walked forward with such care and awareness. We need to check our motivations. We need to do these things. Everything matters that we do. I also like, it ends with, when the parts are made perfect, the whole will be without blemish. A lot of people want to polish the end piece. They want to polish or like have this grandiose picture of what the ending will look like. Well, and they need to make sure they're taking care of that, right? But to take care of that, you pay attention to the details. You pay attention to the little things. You pay attention to every block, every block in the wall, every step of the way, every single little piece of the creation itself. And then suddenly, the end, the whole will be without blemish. If you want to build this thing, build it correctly, whatever this is, whatever that could be for you. I don't really know. And it starts with just us. We, right? And how we are living. That's what I want to just stress. This is building our own character first. This is building our own reputations, our own principles, our own values, our own habits of living and disciplines. And that's where it needs to start. As you live, you will bring into the world. And that's an important thing to remember. So, all right. Well, I will end there today. Thank you all so much for joining me for February 13th reading. James Allen's daily meditation. It's just a great one. It's a reminder that everything matters. Keep that in mind today. It's a good mantra. I've used that myself many, many times. So, thanks for jumping on. Until next time. Thanks.